So you've told your team to press high. You've shouted, win it back. You've even set up drills to work on it. But every weekend, your press gets played through like it's not even there. Here's the truth. Pressing isn't about running harder. It's about thinking smarter. And most youth coaches are simply not seeing the results they want. In this video, we'll break down the most important pressing mistakes, show you what good pressing actually looks like and how to coach it in the right way, even with limited time and space. In theory, pressing is about winning the ball back and then taking a quick shot on goal. The opponent is confused and disorganized, so lots of space for some creative individual brilliance. But the players that have this creativity also need to press, which has nothing to do with randomness. In fact, pressing should look like a Swiss watch or an algorithm. Instead, you see players either chasing the ball or wait. For example, the striker sees which defender gets the ball and just charges at them. The issue with this approach is that straight charge to them doesn't block any passing options. So the striker can be lost in this Bermuda triangle here, where the two defenders and the goalkeeper play a well-spaced rondo, while the striker just gets tired. The striker did three mistakes here. Firstly, he just focused on the ball and did not care about passing lanes. The presser must limit the options of the player with the ball, force them to do the least favored solution for that given situation. Secondly, the presser didn't wait for any pressing cue. The idea is that you want to press when something is off. For example, the pass was too strong, or the receiver might have had a bad touch. Or if they have turned their back while receiving the ball, essentially forced to be trapped into a corner. Thirdly, the striker was pressing on their own. Soccer is a team sport, and while individual brilliance can score you goals, it will never defend as effectively. Even if there is a brilliant tackle, the need for the tackle was likely because there was a lack of team defending. The fact that striker pressed on their own without the support of the teammate is indicative of an issue within the team. Either the strike didn't wait for the cue, or the teammates didn't participate in the press, making it ineffective. Now that we know how a bad press looks like, let's see what a good one actually does. The press is led from the front. The striker firstly positions themselves to limit the options for the defender. It is way more important to do that than to try to get the ball. With that positioning, the striker effectively limits the playing field. Look at how the teammates can then come together and compress the midfield. The further the defender is from the ball, the more centrally they can come and cover more players. This allows the teammates to also press closer to the ball. You want the middle of the field to be packed with your teammates, not the opponents to have free space. The most important thing in pressing is to block the easy solution. Now that we have created that setup, we wait for an opportunity. The players increase the pressure, but it's still not a full press. The moment we see a chance, the striker presses on the ball and the teammates are also sprinting towards their respective marking targets. The pressing cues might have come very easy when playing against weaker opponents, but sporadically when playing against better ones. Some pressure has to be there to limit the options so that we can create our own luck to create pressing cues. But don't hope that you will get them in every play. The final advice about pressing is that the team must anticipate the next step. It is not uncommon for the player that is pressed to just boot the ball. At that point, the players must cover, and many of them will likely need to run back and provide security. Alternatively, our team might intercept the ball. Either the presser will tackle or one of the teammates with an interception. A good press doesn't just want to get possession, but benefit from the chaos in the opponent defense. Our forward players must anticipate this transition and sprint into space to receive the ball and counterattack. As many of the viewers of the channels are coaches, I will share some tips on how to coach pressing effectively. We'll talk about the setup, the individual coaching points, and the team agreement. The most important thing about the setup is to have direction. While the channel name is called Rondo Coach, we can live only on rondos. Set some small-sided game, such as 5 on 5, maybe plus a goalkeeper, with the goal of playing from the back. The objective for the ball in possession is to just get past their opponent, their own third while dribbling. The pressing team will try to gain possession and quickly score a goal. Since pressing is complex, the coaching points will focus only on the pressing team. Also, we will scaffold them one piece at a time. The objectives will still be the same, but we will constrain ourselves as coaches on the issues to focus on. We can split the stages into closing passing lanes, pressing triggers, and counter-attacking after gaining possession. We will always actively coach only one stage, while mostly ignoring or sometimes actively solving for the other stages. So level 0 is when we just let them play only with the objectives in mind. The setup is not the end of coaching. It is just prerequisite for us to begin the real coaching. At this stage, as coaches, we don't control or coach any segment. Level 1 is when we coach the closing of the passing lanes. We can use freeze and replay to correct that, asking questions on how we could have positioned ourselves to force the opponents to choose riskier passes. The focus will be on the pressing team only. That must stay compact until you as a coach yell press. This will be fun for younger players to show patience and compactness. So we coach actively the closure of the passing lane. We solve for the issue of the pressing cue because we yell press, and we let the players figure out the counter-attacking part of it. So level 2 is when we demand proficiency of the closure of passing lanes. But we actively coach only the pressing triggers. The coach will not yell press anymore. This will need to happen by the players themselves. The players closest to the goal will need to make the decision and the rest will need to follow. Again, pause and replay will be the coaching methodology in this case. So level 3 is not a formal stage because you will not introduce it. Instead, you will just see that the players are closing lanes appropriately and are getting the pressing cues right. So there's not much you will need to coach in those stages. Now you will start to ask them to think about what to do once the team gets the ball. Can they anticipate it better than the defenders? Can they create advantage by moving into the right places ahead of time? I will not get into the upper levels in details, but one area that we haven't covered is about handling the long passes or even just blindly kicking the ball. At that point, the pressing is essentially done, but there are still advantages to be taken, as well as consideration to be addressed. After all, we don't want to have a press that, if broken, will lead to a clear chance for the opponent. The last benefit I want to mention is that during this same setup, you can coach the other team about playing from the back. If you see that the pressing team is not doing a good job, but still can get the ball plenty of times, you might want to switch focus and coach the other team. You don't want to have very imbalanced side. If you have a good assistant coach, you can create roles where one of you will be coaching the pressing team while the other one will be coaching the team playing from the back. However, the focus during play will be on the coaching points from the head coach. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful to understand how to press better, both individually and as a team.